What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Take Us Whistle podcast. Today we've got another NFL episode coming for you guys, so stay tuned for the episode and hope you guys enjoy.
Steps into it, pass is caught! Touchdown! Play clock at 5. Pass
Back today, so I got time to be tripping and writing no love song. Yeah, writing no love song. We all experience love loss. Yeah.
How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Take Us Whistle podcast. I am one of your hosts, Josh, and as always, I'm joined by my co-host and good friend, Parker.
What up, my amazing listeners, everybody out there on this wonderful Tuesday evening.
Yeah, and today we got another NFL episode for you guys. Parker, to start everything off, the first topic I want to talk about is the two Texans rookies that continue to impress everybody. That being CJ Stroud and Tank Dell.
I've said it for the past couple weeks now, and I will still continue to say it. And even though I know he had a few amount of he had 3 interceptions this past week against the Cardinals, but not only is CJ Stroud a Rookie of the Year, he should be the runaway candidate for Rookie of the Year, but also he needs to be put in this MVP conversation, especially this year when there's not really a overwhelming favorite. Every single person that could potentially be an MVP candidate this year has shown flaws. There hasn't been someone that's had a perfect season so far. I think that CJ Stroud needs to be put in that conversation. I mean, this past week, he went 27 for 37, 336 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Like I said, he did have those 3 interceptions, but I mean, that's his first really, really bad interception game, I believe. He's not doing much less than some of your high-quality Josh Allen's, Patrick Mahomes, Jalen Hurts quarterbacks in the world. CJ Stroud needs to be an MVP candidate.
I mean, look, I'll tell you this, Parker. After yesterday's Monday night game between the Eagles and the Chiefs, Jalen Hurts is now the front runner for the MVP award, and Jalen Hurts is sitting at a 15-9 ratio, while CJ Stroud is sitting at a 17-5 ratio. Jalen Hurts is sitting at 2,497 yards, and CJ Stroud is sitting at damn near 3,000 yards. So if we're going to sit here and say Jalen Hurts is the MVP when he's not even playing as good as CJ Stroud, and at the same time also has one of the best offenses around him, don't get me wrong, Jalen Hurts is an outstanding quarterback, great player, phenomenal leader. But if we're going to talk about the most valuable player, the Texans would not be what they are right now if they didn't have CJ Stroud at quarterback. And I am 100% confident in saying that because he is playing out of his mind, and no other rookie is even touching his stats that he has right now.
You know, that's an argument it's such a good argument that I don't think gets enough talk about, is the definition of MVP, right? So most of the time, your MVP is going to be to your best player in the league that puts up the best stats. And I'm not talking just NFL, but you're also talking just NBA, MLB, all that good stuff. MVP stands for most valuable player. That means if you take said player off of that team, how drastically is their team going to change? And yeah, you take Hurts off the Eagles, they're a different team. But I mean, they still have great weapons offensively. They still have a stellar defense. They would still be potentially in the playoff hunt. This Houston team, minus Tank Dell, who we don't know if without Stroud, if Tank Dell would have this same season, they're fighting to stay out of the bottom. They're fighting to get one single win in the year without CJ Stroud. He is the most valuable that I have seen so far to any other team. So Dak Prescott on the Cowboys, Patrick Mahomes on the Chiefs, Justin Herbert on the Chargers. All those players, I think, they're gonna be similar. They're gonna be similar to where they're at. Their teams are where they're at without that quarterback or without that player. But you take CJ Stroud off the Texans, we saw it last year. It's basically the same team made over minus Tank Dell, and I mean Devin Singletary. I don't think he was on the team, but I mean just that's an argument that I feel like doesn't get enough talk about, because you see in like the MLB, Shohei Ohtani is probably the runaway MVP candidate this year because he's putting up unbelievable stats that we haven't seen since like Babe Ruth, right? Pitching and hitting wise. But their team sucks. Their team is not good. You take Ohtani off of the Angels, and the Angels are still bad. They're just gonna be worse. Either way, they're still a bad team, you know? So I'm like, in my mind, I'm like, how can you 100% give the MVP award to a team or to a player that's on a team that is still struggling and would continue to struggle with or without them?
Yeah, and listen, if we want to talk about win-loss record, I get it. The Eagles have the best record in the league. They're 9-1. They probably could have had a couple games slip away out of their hands, but they didn't. They found a way to win. Good for them. They're 9-1. But we're looking at a Houston Texans team that are on a 3-game win streak. 3 weeks ago, they were 3-4. They are now 6-4 with C.J. Stroud playing some of the best quarterback play in the league right now. Better than Patrick Mahomes, better than Jalen Hurts, better than any other rookie quarterback. I mean, he's having a historic rookie season right now, and it's just not being talked about as far as MVP votes go, and genuinely, he is the MVP in my eyes right now.
And what's crazy to me is I feel like a couple years ago...
Because he's already far and away the Rookie of the Year. If he doesn't win Rookie of the Year, then something's wrong with the league.
But if he doesn't win Rookie of the Year, then it's going to be Tank Dell.
Him or... I mean, yeah, honestly, I can't even think of any other rookies that are doing as good as them two. They're both just amazing right now.
I think the only world where
as far as offense goes,
the only world that we see CJ Stroud not winning Rookie of the Year is if they give it to Tank Dell because CJ Stroud is winning MVP, in my mind.
Yeah, like offensive Rookie of the Year or whatever, like they differentiated or whatever.
Yeah, because we saw it. We saw it a few years ago in Dallas.
Right.
When Dak Prescott was in the MVP vote, but they ended up giving the offensive Rookie of the Year to.
I guess Jahmyr Gibbs could win it, or Bijan. But if we're talking, but if we're talking like offensive Rookie of the Year, though, for the most part, that award is much like the MVP award. It tends to be a quarterback award for the most part. Yes, so if we're really going to sit here and say that C.J. Stroud's not clearly winning that award right now, even though there are other great rookies, then, I mean, I don't really know what we're doing.
I just think that even when Trevor Lawrence a few years ago came into the league, everybody said he was the best prospect since Andrew Luck. And he is, and C.J. Stroud is having a much better rookie year than Trevor Lawrence did. And yet, I feel like back then, Trevor Lawrence was getting more talk about him than C.J. Stroud is now. I don't understand it. I don't get why everybody's not talking about C.J. Stroud at all. I don't. Maybe is it because he plays for Houston? Houston has historically always been the laughing stock of the NFL, and that's why he's not getting that much talk. I don't know.
I don't know what it is, but I'm looking at his passing right now, and he's literally thrown for less than 300 yards, like less than half of the games so far this season.
Yeah,
he's thrown for less than 300 yards 5 times, and he's thrown for more than 300 yards 5 times. So he's literally 50-50 right now on throwing for 300 yards or more. And when he doesn't throw for 300 yards, he's throwing for 242, 280, 249. You know, like, those are still just... I mean, it angers me the way the MVP race is right now.
I'm looking at it, and I can see where you put Jalen Hurts in, like you said. Same with Lamar. I can see where you can put Lamar Jackson in there. But you have me I'm so confused where there's guys like Patrick Mahomes, Dak Prescott, and Brock Purdy at what the website I'm looking at all have better odds to win MVP than Stroud.
Which is wild.
I mean, like I said, I get Hurts and I get Jackson. Both of them are having great years and their teams are doing phenomenal. Patrick Mahomes, maybe one of his worst years, and he's still having a good year, but maybe one of his worst years we've seen in a while. Which I do want to spend some time on the Chiefs here soon. Tua had another great year, but at the same time for Tua, I feel like that offense is just any quarterback you throw into that system is going to succeed, in my opinion. I feel like that's such a systematic quarterback situation that Tua's in that anybody's. I could be. No, I'm not going to say that. Josh, you could be put in there and you could succeed. Dak Prescott, you know how I feel about Dak Prescott. He hasn't shown me enough. And then Brock Purdy, whenever big games come around and they don't have Christian McCaffrey, he folds under pressure.
Yeah, I don't know why there's names like those two above CJ Stroud when they're not even playing near CJ Stroud's level. I don't know if it's because he's a rookie. Like, I don't know if maybe they're just like, oh, rookie can't win MVP. Like, seriously? But, like, if there was ever going to be a rookie to win both, it is CJ Stroud. And I know that there's, how many weeks left are there? Like 4 or 5?
There's a decent amount. Hang on. There is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
Okay, so I get there's 7 weeks left. I get that's a lot of football left. But if CJ Stroud keeps playing the way he's doing over and over and over again, you just cannot leave his name out of that discussion. And especially if he keeps playing the way he's playing right now, where he's second in passing yards in the league, and I believe he's near the top in passing touchdowns as well. If he keeps both of those going, there's just no way. There's just no way you can say this kid can't win MVP and Rookie of the Year. I just find it impossible. And if they somehow find a way to do that, then I'm going to be honest. The MVP race this year is rigged. And it's not like he has that terrible of a schedule left either. His schedule is honestly pretty easy for the rest of the year. He has one tough game I take that back. He has a couple rough games, in my opinion, those being New York and Cleveland, only because he has to go up against the best defense or one of the best defenses in Cleveland. And then, obviously Sauce is a big problem with the Jets.
The Jets got a great defense.
Yeah, the Jets have a great defense. Cleveland obviously has a great defense. But still, at the same time, winnable games. And with how electric Tank Dell is and how good CJ Stroud is, and also the other weapons on that team. I mean, Noah Brown is a hell of a receiver. That Texans offense is the real deal. I'm just going to say it. It's a young team. They're all super young, but they're all really fucking good. And the rest of their schedule is super winnable. Starting this week with Jacksonville. They already beat Jacksonville 37-17 earlier in the year. So why couldn't they do it again?
That is a matchup because how red hot the Jags are right now. I'm very curious to see what those two teams look like matching up to each other, because that's a matchup we're going to see for a while. Like, those are the
same
new
division,
faces.
yeah.
Two new faces in the league that are hopefully going to be here for a long time. That's going to be a really good matchup.
Yeah, and Trevor Lawrence is coming off of a great game last week. So that should be a very fun matchup to keep up with for sure. But, yeah, we'll go ahead and move on. But CJ Stroud, man, just as of right now, yes, put respect on his name. He fucking deserves it. Just real quick, though, Parker, this kind of meshes with fantasy talk a little bit, but I do want to talk about his favorite target, Tank Dell, a little bit. Not too much, because, we already talked about him a little bit already with the CJ Stroud talk. But, man, Tank Dell is having himself a year as well. Wouldn't you say so?
Oh, yeah. I mean, as far as wasn't even a day one draft pick, right? If I'm not mistaken.
I believe he was taken in the second or third.
Day or round?
He was picked in round 3.
So I wonder if that. But anyways,
regardless, that's day 2.
Regardless, still, the way that he has came from nothing, and there was a viral video going up this past week of the story. Basically, CJ Stroud got drafted. Tank Dell went to congratulate him, and CJ said, he's like, look, I'm going to try my hardest to get you on this team with us. And next thing you know, they get him, and ever since then, there has been just a amazing connection between Tank Dell and CJ Stroud. And, I think that it's just CJ Stroud has so much confidence in him to make the big play whenever he's asked to. And Tank Dell's not afraid of the moment. He's not scared. He's not going to shy away from it. And he has proven to be, I would say, a top 10 receiver this year. Just as far as looking at everybody, and some people have been struggling, I would put Tank Dell in the top 10.
I mean, yeah, Tank Dell is the way he is the definition of a deep threat. He just knows how to get open downfield super quickly. He just knows how to get downfield. He just knows how to get open. He seems like he's always open when you watch the Houston Texans play. Tank Dell just seems like he's always open. He's averaging 15.7 yards a catch. Like that's a lot of yards. And for a guy that plays the slot for the most part, you'd think they'd send him on a lot of short routes over the middle or, something like that, which they do. But Tank Dell, regardless of the route he's running, just seems like he's always open. And if you look at the last game they played, which I got to pull that up real quick, he had 8 receptions for 149 yards and a touchdown, which came pretty early on in the game. But
right.
Still, that's a hell of a game. And I'm going to say only, but it's not really only because that's a lot of receptions. But for only 8 receptions, that's a really fucking impressive stat line.
Yeah, it is.
And again, I know 8 receptions is a lot. Like, I know that's not, that I think everyone knows that's not a low amount of receptions. But we're seeing a consistency in the last few games. Against Tampa Bay, he had 6 receptions. 114 yards. In the game the week before last week against Cincinnati, he had 6 receptions. He had 6 receptions again, only for 66 yards. But he's averaged a touchdown in his last 3 games. He has at least 1 touchdown in his last 3 games. He has elevated himself to Stroud's number 1 target in my eyes, and as far as fantasy goes, he has elevated himself to fringe wide receiver 1, wide receiver 2 level, in my opinion. Because just 3 weeks ago, he was projected 12 points in fantasy. Coming into this week, he's projected 15. And Parker, you know this as well as I do. Going up 3 whole points projection-wise is not easy.
No.
Like, most of the time in fantasy, we see players go up in, like, 0.2 maybe projection-wise, or maybe a point at most.
I think
he's gone up 3 whole points.
The only other player that I can think of that has done that this year, have that big of a jump up, is Adam Thielen for Carolina. So just to put, like, out of all the receivers, that's the only one that I can think of. And maybe Puka too. Those are the only other 2 receivers that I can think of that have just absolutely exploded onto the scene. And it's somebody that week in and week out that is going to consistently get you points and make production.
Yeah. I will say, I will say, Keenan Allen from personal experience has kind of made a slight jump too. He's gone from 18 to 20 projected, I think now, consistently wise.
The thing about Keenan though is every year I feel like for the past however long, I feel like he's done it for years now. He's always been a consistent 15 to 18 point per game scorer in fantasy.
Yeah. He's having himself a career year fantasy wise.
Yeah.
And real life too.
Quick trivia question for you. I did not know this. Who this year alone, just this year, who has this as a receiver? Who has the second most touchdowns scored in all of the NFL for wide receivers? Tyreek Hill's number 1. Who's number 2?
Second most touchdowns.
Yeah. I didn't know.
Oh, that is a good.
I thought here. I even tell you, it's not Keenan Allen. Because that's if you were to ask me that, that's who I would have said was Keenan Allen because of such a year he's having. But it is not Keenan Allen. Keenan Allen is number 3.
Who I'm trying to think of like a bunch of people who have caught touch. It's got to be somebody that's like Is it? Can I ask like some hint questions?
Yeah, you can. Yeah.
Is it somebody you'd put in the top 5 receivers right now?
No, absolutely not.
Top 10?
No.
Okay.
Maybe not even top 20.
Maybe not even top 20.
Depending on how you look at it. Me personally, no, I want it.
AFC?
Yes.
Oh, I'm trying to think like of fantasy of who has who I've seen has scored a lot of touchdowns.
I don't have him in a single one of my leagues.
Actually, you know what? I think I have a decent guess, and it's only because me and Landon have talked about this guy, and I think it's because the Vikings just played his favorite team, the Broncos, yesterday. Is it Cortland Sutton?
It is Cortland Sutton. He has 8 touchdowns throughout the year.
God.
And what's crazy is he only has 45 catches compared to everybody else in this range that is around the 60 to 80 mark. You know what I mean? He only has 45 catches.
I mean, anytime the Broncos reach the red zone, you can almost guarantee who it's going to. It's going to Cortland Sutton. And, I mean, if we're being honest, he'll catch it. Cortland Sutton will catch it. I mean, he has been probably one of the most reliable red zone targets this year in the league.
Yeah, I hats off to Cortland Sutton because I would have never guessed that. I would have never even thought of him. And I never, in fantasy wise, I never even thought once of potentially being interested in him, trading for him, picking him up.
Yeah, and another cool fact that I am noticing right now is that 2 first-year starters lead the league in passing yards, which I find pretty interesting.
2 first-year starters. What do you mean? Receiver-wise?
Like it's no in passing. Two first-year starters.
Is it Stroud?
Or 1 and 2.
Stroud and
Howell.
Who's the other? Who?
Sam Howell, the Commanders.
Sam Howell. Wow. Yeah. He's had a crazy year. His team's just not winning.
Yeah, well, his ratio is also not that great. He's 18 for 12, but he's still having a great season. All things considered, he's still doing very well.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, his team pretty much just sent off their best players like a couple weeks ago and said, all right, guys, let's go have fun for the rest of the season. And, I mean, he's doing good. He's doing his best with the weapons he has. So, I mean,
Yeah, hats off to him.
But
hats off to him.
I feel like potentially if CJ Stroud can pass Howell and passing leaders in the league, because CJ Stroud's not like significantly ahead of anybody, but like with QBs, and if they're like the league leaders and they're passing as much as CJ Stroud and the Texans are, you can kind of assume they're going to drop like at least 250 per game, which CJ Stroud has been for the most part. And if he keeps doing that, I don't see him getting passed. And he hasn't gotten passed in the past few weeks. And he has guys like Josh Allen and Tua behind him. But if CJ Stroud passes Howell and gets into that number 1 spot in passing leaders in the league, I think maybe that could push him over the edge to get some people talking about him a little bit. Maybe. I really don't know what it would take, but I feel like that would definitely help. But you would think him being at number 2 would be enough anyways, but I don't know.
What's crazy, another crazy stat is out of all quarterbacks that have played since week 1, like week 1 till now, only 2 starting quarterbacks have less interceptions thrown than Stroud too. That is Russell Wilson and Derek Carr. They both have 4 interceptions thrown on the year. And without today, or minus this past week, Stroud was sitting there at a 2. He was sitting there at 2 interceptions on the year as a rookie. That's insane. That is absolutely insane numbers.
Yeah, so before this week, he was at how many touchdowns did he throw this past week? 2?
I think he threw it 2, so he was sitting at
so
15
he was
touchdowns
at a 15
and 2. Yes.
Yeah.
And then sitting there second in passing yards too.
Yeah, which is absurd.
I mean,
and then we're not just gonna sit here and act like 17 for 5 is an amazing ratio either. Like, the kid's not throwing interceptions, and that's not something we see very often from rookie quarterbacks.
He's our age
for the Houston Texans, nonetheless.
He's our age.
He's 20.
I don't know if he's literally 20, but he's close to our age. I'd say he's like 22.
He's 22. Yeah.
Yeah, but still.
Yeah, I mean, I can't talk enough about CJ Stroud. He's just so good. I don't know. I don't really know what else to say besides he deserves the attention.
It'll forever haunt Carolina. It'll forever haunt them.
If Bryce Young doesn't pan out, which
even if he does pan out,
he's not.
Even if he does pan out, I don't think the best version of Bryce Young can match the best version of CJ Stroud.
Yeah, and if we're being completely honest here, like statistically wise, this isn't even the best CJ Stroud we're seeing. Like, there's no way he's in his prime right now, and that's kind of scary for me. Because if the Texans can improve Tank Dell, improve Nico Collins, improve Noah Brown, improve that O-line, for sure, that's one thing they need to do. They need to improve that O-line. And if CJ Stroud can just keep improving, I mean, dude, Parker, we might be seeing the next guy to crack the top 5 in QBs.
I mean, depending on who you ask, he might already be there, you know?
Yeah, seriously. But I'm so excited to watch him play. I'm excited to see how his career pans out because, I mean, outstanding player. But
on the other side of that Texans win, the Arizona Cardinals, they have Kyler Murray. He is back in action fully, and he looks fairly healthy, to say the least, in my opinion, from what I've seen after missing however long he's been missing football. He looks fairly healthy.
Pretty good.
I mean,
looks pretty good to be fair.
So with this Arizona team that we have right now, the pieces that we are missing, you know, I say we, like I'm a fan of them. I'm not, but I'm immersing us into the universe of the Arizona Cardinals. You get rid of someone like DeAndre Hopkins, who at the time was considered a top 10 receiver. You lose other crucial defensive pieces as well. And you basically form this whole rebuild. But at the same time, you paid Kyler Murray a shitload of money. Where do you go? Is Kyler Murray here to stay, or is that somebody that we need to shop around and potentially get a great package for him in return?
Listen, all right, I'm going to tell you what I think they need to do. All right?
Okay.
As it stands, they have the number 2 pick in the NFL draft. As it stands today. The team with the number 1 pick right now is the Carolina Panthers. Okay? The Carolina Panthers are not going to take Caleb Williams, at least in my opinion, because they just drafted Bryce Young. They're not going to do it.
They could give up on him.
They could give up on him. I don't think they will, though, because I think they know it's not really his fault. It's the team's fault because that team is garbage. So I think the Panthers could potentially trade out and get a shit ton of picks, right? I think the Cardinals either stick at number 2 and take Marvin Harrison Jr. and stack that wide receiver room again with a combination of Marvin Harrison Jr., Hollywood, and Rondale Moore, and Greg Dortch, which is also a decent wide receiver. They keep Kyler because Kyler's phenomenal. I don't care what anybody says. He's not washed. He's great. I mean, we've seen it the past 2 weeks. I know he's thrown a pick in each game, but he's running the ball like he never left. He had a rushing touchdown in both games. He's showing the mobility that he had before his injury, which, by the way, if you guys remember, he tore his ACL. And to be running the way he is off of a torn ACL is pretty impressive in my opinion. He's also passing the ball quite well, Parker. So I don't think they give up on him. They shouldn't give up on him. I think they either take Marvin Harrison Jr. in the second as the second overall pick or third overall pick because the New England Patriots are right there, or they do exactly what the Panthers are probably going to do, and they trade out and get a shit ton of draft capital again, because if you know, Parker, they did that already last year, and they have multiple first rounds this year. So if they really wanted to, they could just stack the hell out of their first round picks for years to come, and they could miss out on Marvin Harrison Jr., but they could also draft top offensive linemen for Kyler. They could also draft top defensive guys to bulk up their defense, which is pretty lackluster if we're being honest, because their offense is, quite frankly, pretty decent. It's not great, and it's not necessarily, but it's not terrible. It's decent. James Conner is a great running back. I might be the only person in the world that thinks that, but James Conner is a great workhorse back. He's a great running back. He's a great starting running back. Hollywood Brown is a very capable wide receiver and a phenomenal wide receiver. I don't think he's a wide receiver 1. I think he's better fit as a wide receiver 2 or put in the slot. Rondale Moore, obviously, Parker, you and me know who that is because he grew up in our area. He's a phenomenal receiver as well. He's shown great flashes in his few years in the league so far. And I think if they got Marvin Harrison Jr., that wide receiver room would probably be one of the best in the league, at least potential-wise and, their age and potential combined, you know what I mean? Like, that's probably one of the most promising receiving corps in the league. If they pass up on Marv, though, and they bulk up their defense and they bulk up that O-line, that only helps them. You know what I mean? Because
let me ask. No, go ahead.
Because their O-line is still lackluster and their defense is still lackluster. So I think if they can fill up those two spots on their team, I honestly think they perform way better next year. And, I don't know if that's playoffs, but definitely not 2 wins on the season.
Let me ask you something. Now, I agree with that plan. If everything does work out, but my only thing, do you, with that second overall pick, and you said that New England's right behind them at 3?
As of right now, yes, New England would be
okay.
right behind them at 3.
Do you think Marvin Harrison Jr. is a legitimate second overall talent? Because we haven't seen a receiver go that high on the draft since I don't know when. Do you think Marvin Harrison is legitimately somebody that you can take?
Who is the last receiver to be taken that high?
I looked that up, and
not necessarily number 2, but like top 5, I guess.
Keyshawn Johnson was drafted first overall in 1996
to the Jets.
Yeah, to the Jets. Mm-hmm.
Is he? He's the last one.
There was
to be taken that high.
Henry Ruggs was drafted 12th.
Okay, yeah, fuck that guy.
Yeah, we saw how that turned out. Marquise Brown went 25th. I mean, you look at some of these receivers. DJ Moore went 24th. Some of these receivers. Here's Corey Davis for the Titans went number 5 overall. But you have to have a really special talent, and I'm not saying that Marvin Harrison's not. He's putting up crazy numbers for the Buckeyes, but do you take a stab at him at second overall, or do you think that you could potentially draft down to that or trade down to like that 10th, 8th to 10th spot and he still be there?
I'll tell you this: 8, 9, 10, he won't be there. I can almost guarantee you that. If one of the top, I'm gonna say if one of the top 4 teams doesn't take him, that number 5 team will take him. And if not the number 5 team, somebody in the top 10 will take him. I don't think he reaches the 8, 9, 10 part, though. I genuinely believe he is a top 5 talent. 6'4", 205, he'll probably put on a couple more pounds before the combine or during the combine. We just see that all the time. in players coming from college to the NFL, right? We see that all the time.
Yeah.
Has a very comparable. Now, again, like I said, he'll have to put on size. He's not necessarily as big, but he has the same height, stature. He has the same build as one of the best wide receivers of all time in Megatron. He has some of the same catching ability, at least in college. In college, he has some of the best catching ability that we've ever seen. And some people might even say in college he is a better pass catcher than Megatron was, which, Megatron didn't go to Ohio State. He went to Georgia Tech, which you actually just found that out this year, Parker.
I did find that out. I did not know
that. But, I think it would be ludicrous for teams to pass up on Marvin Harrison Jr. I just think he's... in Madden, there's these generational players that pop up in every draft. Not even every draft, every other draft or so on and so forth. And they're just kind of good at everything. I feel like Marvin Harrison is one of those players. He has very good speed on him. He has very good route running. He has very good hands. Just everything about him is NFL caliber.
And, in a world where if NFL scouts and just organizations think so highly of Marvin Harrison Jr. as we do, the Panthers need a wide receiver more than anybody, right? Adam Thielen's had a great year, but I guess if he's going to go as high as second, why can't we say he can't go number one overall to a team that needs receivers?
Now, the thing is they definitely could take him number one overall. They definitely could, for sure. But I feel like in their heads, what they're going to say is, hey, we could trade back to like number 3 or 4, get their first from this year, and get like a really good fucking player or a very good draft pick either this year or next year from either the Patriots or whoever the 4th pick is. I think it could be the Bears, to be honest. But listen, one of these QB needy teams is going to be trading up to that number 1 pick, and they're going to be giving the world to the Panthers for that number 1 pick. And if it's a team around the 3, 4, 5 range, I think that's perfect for the Panthers because I think they jump in, they trade back, and then they just immediately take Marvin Harrison.
If you're thinking teams that
if the Cardinals don't, that is.
If a team that really needs a quarterback, which is such a weird situation, is what's going on in New England. They have so much quarterback talent in their quarterback room, but nobody is stepping up to really take that starting spot. I could see where New England jumps up and takes that first overall pick from the Panthers, and maybe even give the Panthers someone like Mac Jones or Bailey Zapp. In case Bryce Young doesn't pan out, they still have a decent quarterback. But I could see the Patriots being the first candidate in my mind to jump up to take a stab at Caleb Williams.
Yeah, that team, the Patriots, I'm not really sure what happened to Mac Jones because in his rookie year, he made the Pro Bowl. I don't know how he turned it around so badly, but he sucks. He's terrible now. And I don't know what happened, but it seems like he has lost that locker room. It seems like that team is so done with him. They've already benched him. He's no longer the starter. As far as I know, from reports I've seen, he's no longer the starter. And they're looking to move on this offseason. From everything I've seen, they're looking to move on. So,
in my eyes, which, like you said, Mac Jones had a great rookie year. He was a Pro Bowler. But I honestly feel like, which it pains me to say it because he's coming from WKU, Bailey Zapp has more talent. He is just overall, he's got a better decision making. He's better just field sense on the field. You can just tell his field presence is so much better than Mac Jones. Then you also have and he's a little bit older, but Will Grier from West Virginia. He bounced around. I don't know if he might have left West Virginia. No, he came from West Virginia. A fairly mobile quarterback. There's so much talent in that quarterback room. But for whatever reason, especially after having a legacy of Tom Brady, that Belichick cannot find the guy in these three guys. He cannot find the one to be the starter, and it just blows my mind.
Yeah, no, and it's happening with multiple QBs too. By the way, we just saw Zach Wilson get demoted all the way to third string quarterback,
Which is
that's
Zach criminal.
Yeah, Zach Wilson has never been that great compared to his college self. Let's be honest; he's been probably one of the worst QBs in the league. But to demote Zach Wilson to third string quarterback behind I don't even fucking know who, but I know that he's worse than Zach Wilson. Boyle. I can tell you that. If you look at Tim Boyle's stats, he's actually way worse than Zach Wilson.
Trevor Simeon's the second string.
Which that might not even be true either, because I just saw reports today saying Trevor Simeon's signing with
really?
a different team's practice squad. I don't remember what team it was, but yeah.
Wow, I didn't know that.
So I don't know what's going on with. Yeah, it's.
I mean, here's the. And maybe I'm too soft. Maybe I'm giving these quarterbacks too much leeway, and obviously I'm not there at practice every day. Clearly, I'm not there at practice every day. But what I see every Sunday is a team that had hopes and aspirations of Aaron Rodgers leading them to a Super Bowl this year, right? Aaron Rodgers is a first ballot Hall of Famer. He is going to do amazing things. Obviously, he gets hurt, and Zach Wilson has to step up, as he has been the starter for the previous year. He took this Jets team to a 4-6 record. And I know he's not perfect. He has not been perfect by any means. He still has those 6 losses that are his losses. But you really think that Tim Boyle is the answer over Zach Wilson? You think that he is going to be the one to help drag this team to somehow make a playoff push? I mean, it just blows my mind that Zach Wilson, like I said, he hasn't been great, but he also hasn't been god awful where you have to demote him to the third string. I think it's extremely harsh for Zach Wilson. I don't agree with it at all. But like I said, I'm not there. I'm not at practice. Maybe he's not putting in the effort. Maybe he just doesn't care. He cares about the popularity and money. I don't know. I don't know what the answer is in New York.
Yeah. Okay. I have a question for you, Parker. Why is a team like the Chargers finding a way to lose every goddamn week? Why are the Chargers 4-6 with a QB like Justin Herbert and a weapon like Keenan Allen out on the outside? Why are the Chargers 4-6 when they have a great defense that consists of players like Joey Bosa, who, to be honest, is pretty consistently hurt nowadays and is getting kind of old, but still plays very well. Khalil Mack, who is also old, but as we saw earlier, still has a little bit of finesse in him, and Derwin James. Why is that team 4-6? It makes me mad that they find a way to lose games all the time, and it seems like it's every week.
The easiest answer and the most obvious answer is what most people are going to say is injuries. They can't stay healthy. I feel like even Justin Herbert, not this year, but in years past, he's usually missed a few games due to injuries.
He's playing with a broken fucking finger right now. I don't know if you've noticed, but
I didn't know that.
He's had a splint on his non-throwing hand for like 3 weeks now.
So I mean, the easiest answer is to say injuries. Obviously, Joey Bosa went down. What's the receiver's name that went down earlier this year?
Mike Williams.
Mike Williams, yeah. So you can say that. And I watched the press conference from their head coach, and he is the full defensive play caller for this team. He calls all the defensive plays. I mean, to me, it seems like whenever they do lose these really, really close games, it's usually in the fourth quarter is when they lose it. They crack in the fourth quarter. And you could say it's the players, but there's only, I mean, they have on paper, one of the best defensive teams on paper. At some point, you have to say maybe it's the play calling, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And it could be their coach. I don't know what his name is. That he takes full responsibility in calling all the defensive plays. And you know, he was really upset in that press conference I watched because they kept asking him. They're like, "Would you think about handing the playbook over to anybody else?" And he was like, "Absolutely not. No, I have full faith in myself." Well, buddy, you're sitting at 4-6, so I don't know how much faith you have with a star-studded lineup you have. I mean,
yeah. And it also, if you look at, you know, their games, it doesn't seem like Brandon Staley knows how to play defense in the fourth quarter because they seemingly throw away every single fucking game they play in the fourth quarter because they can't stop anybody from getting in a field goal range.
Right. And, I mean, 2-3 years ago, I would have told you this is one of my favorite teams to watch. I mean, I love the arm that Justin Herbert has. They have great receivers. Like you said, Mike Williams, Keenan Allen's having a great year. Austin Eckler is one of my favorite running backs in the entire league, who is having a little bit of a down year compared to years past, but he's still putting up great numbers. I mean, I to be honest with you, Josh, I don't know. I don't know what the answer is. This is kind of this gray area that some of these teams go through, that you have to make a decision where you either blow the entire thing up and restart, or you just pull a 49ers and just buy everybody you can and just super load this roster.
Yeah, which they tried that. They tried that 2 years ago when they got Khalil Mack and J.C. Jackson, and it didn't work. And now J.C. Jackson's back on the Patriots, and Khalil Mack is still there, but he's still just kind of, you know, doing his thing, which he's doing okay. He's having an okay season, but it frustrates me to see that a team so talented is 4-6 and seemingly fighting to be 500 every year.
I mean, do you think it could be Justin Herbert?
No, and I think the people on Twitter that say it's Justin Herbert's fault are stupid, and they clearly don't watch the games fully, or they're legit just Justin Herbert haters, because Justin Herbert is playing great. He's having a good season. He's having a great season. And yeah, no, I think that's a very stupid argument, to be honest. He has a 19-5 split right now, and he's third in QBR.
And he's always done that his whole career.
Yeah, he has always done that. And I think he's like 4th or 5th in yards right now, or he's top 10 in yards right now. I know that for a fact. So, I mean, anybody blaming Herbert is not a ball knower.
2020, he went 31-10 touchdown to interception ratio. 21, he went 38-15, which was more interceptions but more touchdowns. Then went 25-10, and now he's sitting there at 19-5. I mean, all he does is throw touchdowns.
Yeah, he has a great arm, great accuracy, great vision. He's a great QB, and you know, if anybody sees this and they think Justin Herbert is the problem, then you don't know ball. And I'm not sorry.
Just don't know ball. You don't know ball. I mean, we see it all. We see it all the time, especially in our friend group.
Oh, for sure.
People don't know ball.
Definitely in our friend group.
No shots.
Okay. All the shots. Fuck you guys. All right. So, the next game I kind of want to talk about, it hurts my feelings to talk about it, but the Broncos beat the Vikings 21-20. It was a very close game, a very good game to watch. and we just couldn't hold. We couldn't stop them from getting the score late in the fourth quarter, and we couldn't turn around and score in return. So we fall 21-20. But it was a very good game to watch, and Josh Dobbs had his first interception as a Viking that game, but he still played very well. 20 for 32, 221 yards and a touchdown. Yeah. And a rushing touchdown. So he had a passing touchdown and a rushing touchdown, which I'm pretty sure he's had in every game he's a Viking so far, which is a odd stat, but I'm pretty sure it's true. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure it's true. We ran the ball well. We had two guys go over 50 yards. Alexander Madison, 18 carries, 81 yards. And Ty Chandler, 10 carries for 73 yards.
Ty Chandler, the fantasy football legend, he won me my league this year, or my week this week. Him alone won it for me. I am forever thankful of Ty Chandler.
What do you drop?
Only 15 points, but I only won by 10.
Oh, nice.
And he was projected 6.
Yeah. Receiving wise, we spread the ball around a decent amount. Our tight ends did most of the work. But yeah, it was a close game. We just couldn't hold on, and took an L, and we moved to 6-5.
You look at that's arguably one of the two hottest teams in the NFL playing each other. Me personally, I did not watch this game. I didn't watch any of it. But I mean, we talked about it last week, how red hot the Denver Broncos are, and Russell Wilson is finally getting the boys together. And like we talked about earlier in this episode, Cortland Sutton is touchdown machine. As much as this late in the season, you can't continue to say, don't worry about this loss, because you do have to worry about this loss. But at the same time, I mean, this isn't something where you're like, wow, we're really not ready for the playoffs. I wouldn't say that at all. There is room for improvement, definitely.
They only had one touchdown on the game, by the way, and I'm sure you can guess who it was.
Cortland Sutton.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't be like, oh, well, yeah, well, this is a failure season, kind of like Kentucky losing them as South Carolina. Anyways. But the Broncos are just red hot right now, and
yeah, they moved to a 4-game winning streak now. So
yeah, 4 games is crazy. They're 5-5 on the year. Russell Wilson is slowly becoming the old Russell Wilson. Not fully, but we see hints of that old Russell Wilson, that he still has a little bit left in the tank.
Over great teams, by the way, too. Very good teams.
Yeah, very good teams.
The Chiefs, Bills, and Vikings are not pushovers.
And then for the Vikings, I mean, the Broncos do have a good defense, but the Vikings just need to put up more points than 20 points, I'll tell you that right now.
Yeah.
Addison struggled a little bit getting open. And
it was a tough environment. I mean, that Broncos defense is not anything to mess with. I mean, I'm blanking on his name right now. Their corner, junior, fucking, what's his name? Patrick Surtain.
Yeah.
Patrick Surtain is one of the best corners in the league, and yeah, their defense is really good, and it's a tough environment too. I mean, Mile High is pretty famously known for being a hard stadium to play in, not just because the fans show out for the Broncos, but also just because of the atmosphere, the legit atmosphere, the air quality and everything like that. It's hard for teams to go there and play because they're not used to it.
It's not just the Broncos; it's all sports. You saw the Miami Heat in the finals this past year. They got gassed whenever they went up to Denver in the finals. That's a hard place to play. I mean, we see players on the sideline with masks on all the time. So for the Vikings, me personally, once you guys get Jettas back, you need to get Jettas back and healthy before the end of the season. You got to get that whole offense working together as one big unit, and I think you guys will be all right. I'm not saying you guys potentially are a Super Bowl team. But I think you guys could make a really strong run for a high playoff spot and maybe make some noise in the playoffs as well.
Yeah, we're sitting at 6-5 right now. If we can do good for the rest of the season and potentially get a wild card spot, then a deep playoff run is certainly in the books for us.
I mean, I've been saying it since the beginning of the season for the Vikings. Even whenever you guys were struggling, I said it and I'll continue to say it, that your season is going to depend on that final 4-game stretch where you guys play the Lions twice, the Bengals, and the Packers. I mean, 3
for sure
division games in a row is pretty insane. So, I mean, it's just going to come down to that, how if you guys lose those games, in my opinion.
Yeah. Which I might actually be going to that Bengals game, so that might be fun.
Where's the invite?
You're more than welcome to come.
Okay.
But I didn't I was also invited, so.
I'll sit in the nosebleeds.
Huh?
I'll sit in the nosebleeds.
You'll just creep. You'll just sit in the nosebleeds by yourself.
I'll just have binoculars watching you.
All right, so the next game I want to talk about, kind of the last game too, mainly just because it's kind of the only one of point, at least in my opinion. The Super Bowl rematch. The Philadelphia Eagles take down the Kansas City Chiefs 21-17. A very not actually that entertaining game, if I'm being honest. It was very back and forth, and by very back and forth, I mean the teams weren't really doing anything on offense. Neither quarterback really played that well, to be honest. They both went under 200 yards, which is very rare for Jalen Hurts and Patrick Mahomes. They both do an interception, Patrick Mahomes being the only one that passed for a touchdown. Jalen Hurts rushed for 2 touchdowns. What did you see from that game, Parker? Because I got to be honest, it was kind of a... Because in the last podcast, I don't know if you remember, but I said I was kind of hoping that it would be a shootout, and it was kind of the complete opposite.
It was. And so I'd say for anybody that kind of was even tuning in a little bit to the game, the most obvious thing in that game was the Kansas City receivers. We've seen it all season long, and then this past week it was the worst it's been all year. The drops, man. The drops. The receivers can't catch a ball. That's just simply what it is. I think they had 5 drops, and then I don't know if you saw it, Josh, but in the fourth quarter...
Oh, I saw it. Don't worry.
To win the game, the Hail Mary that literally just went right through the receiver's hands. I don't even know. Was it Rice that did that?
It was McCole Hart. No. It was Marquise Valdez-Scantling.
Oh, was it MVS?
Yeah, it was MVS.
So, just really, it's just that it's so unfortunate. It really is, because you have such a great offensive mind in Andy Reid, who, in our generation, I will safely say in our generation, he's the most creative offensive coach we've ever seen. And just to see him, unfortunately, not have the talent. He's got someone like Mahomes, Travis Kelce, and a bunch of JV high school players. That's really what it looks like.
Yeah, and it just really quickly, it's not like they're not trying either. I mean, they brought in Kadarius Toney. They brought back McCole Hardman. They drafted Justin Watson and Rashee Rice, who I think is also a rookie. I could be wrong there. They drafted Sky Moore last year. They brought in Pacheco, who I know is the running back, so we could kind of count him out there if we really want to. But, still though, Parker, my point, it's not like they're not trying. They're just
not good.
The players they're bringing in just aren't stepping up.
I mean, Sky Moore, who at the beginning of this year, if we had the podcast at the beginning of this year and we went over like our predictions for the most breakout player, the top 10 breakout players this year, Sky Moore,
I would have put him in there. I would have put him in there instantly.
He had all the he's got. In college, he had great hands. He was extremely fast off the line, great route runner. I mean, he had everything to be like, that is the next quote-unquote Tyreek Hill for Patrick Mahomes. He is going to be, besides Travis Kelce, the go-to receiver. And the dude can't even get open. It's just like, I mean, yeah, he's trying, if you want to call it that. He's trying, but I mean, he's just getting locked up. The same, like, he's not finding any success in the NFL. This is, I think, 2 years now that he basically has just been shut down every single week, which is unfortunate because I like Sky Moore. I really do. I like the way he plays. I've always liked him ever since he was all the way back at Western Michigan. Like, you look up at his old Western Michigan highlights, and he was
great in college, man. He was good.
Yeah. He was that Tavon Austin type of player. You know what I mean? That was just, you watch his highlight reels, and it was so much fun. So I mean, it's just I've said it for a couple years that this team hasn't been as good as their first Super Bowl team, but they continue to win. This year finally is the year where they just don't have the talent, unfortunately. Patrick Mahomes can only take you so far. He's a Hall of Fame quarterback. Some people call him the GOAT already. Not me, but some people do. But it's finally showing that you need more than Travis Kelce and Patrick Mahomes to win you ball games. And I don't know what they're going to do. They're going to have to the trade deadline's over, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what the deal is for Kansas City. I think that big offseason moves are going to be needed.
Which Travis Kelce got locked down for about 90% of that game.
Yeah, on Travis Kelce, and then on the other side, A.J. Brown got completely locked down as too. A.J. Brown only had one catch.
Yeah, so what we're seeing right now is a lot of teams are figuring out that if you just lock down Travis Kelce, you have a pretty damn good shot at beating the Chiefs because nobody else can fucking do anything. And I know that's harsh to say, but, I mean, just look at it. Like, it's true. They locked down Travis Kelce, and they couldn't really do anything else offensively.
Here's the reason why the Eagles won that ball game, is because one side you lock down Travis Kelce, the other side you lock down A.J. Brown. Who's the second person you're going to go to in Kansas City? You don't have an answer. For the Eagles, it was Devontae Smith. Devontae Smith stepped up in a big way. He had 6 catches for 99 yards. You don't have that in Kansas City, and that's why simply the Eagles are a better team than the Chiefs are.
Yeah, and you know, another bright spot for the Chiefs that I just want to talk about because I just love the way he plays. The way he plays. I find it so funny, but it works, and he's so good. Isaiah Pacheco is a great young running back with a lot of potential, but the way he runs the ball, I laugh every time he carries the ball because I don't know how much you've watched him run the ball, Parker.
He reminds me of a rugby player.
Yeah, he runs the ball with so much aggression. It feels like he's trying to run into the ground while also like trying to run forward.
Like a rugby player.
Yeah, it looks like he's legit trying to just stomp his feet as deep into the ground as possible. And it's hilarious. But he's so good, and he's so tough. And he knows how to break tackles. He's elusive. He's got speed. Even though the way he runs seems like he uses a lot of unnecessary energy, he's got speed to him. I mean, he's a good running back, man. He's a great player.
Yeah, and I mean, unfortunately for Clyde Edwards-Helaire, he just got his spot taken last year, and he probably will never see that back.
Yeah, that's unfortunate, but you know that obviously they drafted Clyde Edwards for a reason. He didn't live up to it, so yeah, like you said, next man up.
But yeah, me personally, I mean, obviously, whenever you have a quarterback like Patrick Mahomes, you can never 100% count out the Chiefs. The Chiefs could potentially make a run to the Super Bowl, and honestly, I wouldn't put it past them. I mean, they are still sitting at 7-3. We're not talking like they're have no chance at the playoffs. They're practically a playoff lock. They could make a run for the or they could potentially make it into the Super Bowl once again. But I think that they just simply don't have enough talent this year. And just because there are better teams like the Eagles, like the Ravens, that some might even say the Bills sitting at 5-5, which it may not be 5-5 anymore. I don't know. They might have won. I don't know if they won or lost this past week. But I mean, there is some really good teams in the AFC that they're going to have to get past, and I don't see it. I don't see that it's this year.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think the Chiefs will make the chip again this year. All right. Well, Parker, do you have any other games you want to talk about, or any players, anything specific?
It's that game, that Eagles-Chiefs game. Did you see the viral clip of it was the end of the second half, and the Chiefs were trying to get a last-second field goal, and they got it to like the 40-yard line.
And Jalen Carter dove underneath Jason Kelsey, underneath the center, and tried to catch the spike.
How creative and small! I've never seen that before.
Dude,
how creative! And imagine if he pulled that off.
Dude, he said after the game in a quote, he said, "I saw a high schooler do it and actually catch the ball, so I figured I'd try it." The guy saw a high schooler do it and said, "Hey, let me go try this in an NFL game, a professional football game," and it almost fucking worked too. I mean, the guy's athletic as hell too. Like, he's a big ass boy, but he's athletic as fuck.
There was a lot of D-line offensive plays, like Fletcher Cox literally hurdling the O-line, you know? I think it was around that same play. Like, they were all running to the line, and Fletcher Cox just completely hurdled one of the O-linemen for Kansas City. I mean, their O-line is a bunch of freak athletes. And, I mean, I was astonished seeing that play and really seeing exactly what he did. And once they slowed it down and zoomed in to see he actually had a chance to catch that ball. I wouldn't be surprised if we see that a lot more often. I can't wait till somebody actually pulls it off.
Yeah, I kind of want D linemen to just start doing that all the time, because I just want to see somebody, wouldn't it be wild if Jalen Carter just starts a new trend of QBs having to be hesitant to spiking the ball because they could throw a pick just out of nowhere?
Yeah, I mean, and for the most part, everybody, whenever you know that the quarterback's just going to spike it, for the most part, it is just a rest play, you know? Like, nobody really, there's not really too much blocking going on. The O-line just kind of gets in position and then stands up. Nobody's really ready and down, you know? Unless they fake spike it.
But you got to think, too, though, he's a big guy. Like, let me just real quick, hold on 1 second. Here we go. Yeah, he's a big guy. He's 6'3", 314. And for a guy of his size to have the agility and the movement speed to be able to just dive that quickly before Patrick Mahomes can spike the ball, I mean, that's some athleticism right there. Yeah, and especially to track the ball too, to dive under and to look up all at the same time, and then see the ball going, and then to almost catch it. That a lot goes into that to make it work, and he almost did it, which is wild.
And just to think about it, just on the spot. I mean, you're just you're hustling to the line. You got to get back to the line before they hike the ball. You know it's a high pressure situation. Kansas City's obviously trying to get a field goal here. Just to have the IQ to be you know what, hang on, let me freeze time really quick. Think about it. Okay, I'm diving underneath the center. And like you said, just to have the agility to actually pull it off. It's impressive, man.
Yeah, it was an incredible play, and I kind of wish he pulled it off, because that would have been literally a highlight for the ages.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
Which, by the way, he's a rookie, and he's doing shit like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, other than that, though, I mean, I think we, as far as Week 10 goes, we pretty much wrapped everything up there. I think we kind of look ahead to, Week 11, my bad, I'm sorry. Week 12, which is Thanksgiving games. We got 3 really good Thanksgiving games. sort of. Now that I'm looking at it, not really. Packers, Lions, Commanders, Cowboys, and 49ers, Seahawks. Those are all, I would say, fairly favorited games by one team. But it's obviously Thanksgiving. Last year we saw the crazy comeback from your Minnesota Vikings against the Colts, down like 40 to 3 or something like that. Came back and won on Thanksgiving. So, I mean, you never know. You never know. Is there any games week 12 that you kind of are looking forward to seeing?
Well, as far as Thanksgiving, I think the Commanders could give the Cowboys a bit of a better matchup than I think a lot of people are giving them a chance of. Just because we've seen the Cowboys kind of show cracks and kind of give in a little bit. And I think the Commanders could definitely give them a better matchup than a lot of people think. I think let's see here. Let me look at the slate real quick. I think Steelers-Bengals could be pretty good. We don't have any more Joe Burrow for the season. So that game could be interesting. The Steelers just fired their offensive coordinator. So, they're going into that game with a ton of question marks. Same with the Bengals. So it's lost a lot of attention to it. But that one could still be an interesting one to kind of check in on. We mentioned it earlier, Parker. Jaguars-Texans, that one I'm looking forward to. Bills-Eagles, just for the sole fact, I just kind of want to see if the Bills are done for or if they still have some fight in them, because they just have not looked that great at all this season.
Wow, what a tough 2-game stretch for the Eagles. Chiefs, Bills are back-to-back.
You're right.
I like that there's a when was the last time we've seen a Friday game? There's a Friday game this week I like. Dolphins, Jets. Did they have a Friday game last year?
Oh, interesting. I don't remember, to be honest.
But yeah, that's football. You got Thursday, NFL, Friday, NFL, Saturday, college, Sunday, NFL, Monday, NFL.
Huge college week, too. Huge college week.
Yeah.
With it's rivalry week, man.
Rivalry week, the hardest sentence in sports.
Yeah, seriously. Rivalry
week.
All right, well.
Yeah, man. I'm looking forward to everything, really.
Yeah. Well, I will say I have kind of an announcement. Obviously, we're gonna 99% there will be a college episode on Thursday. I have some family matters to attend to for the week, so it could potentially be released on Friday. But there will be a college episode this week regardless. Can't miss this week. Can't miss this week in college football. But also, me and Parker are going to have a little special guest on this week's college football episode. Look out for him. It's going to be an interesting, content-filled episode. Hopefully we can get some good clips out of it. But I'm excited. I think Parker's a little less excited, but
it's gonna be. I'll just give you this. It's gonna be so one-sided. It's not even funny. You wanna think that me and Josh are biased about our Kentucky Wildcats or Louisville Cardinals? Just wait till we get this guy on. He is over the top a little bit. Some would say. Maybe he'll be a little bit more toned down for us, but this college episode should be an interesting one. I'm not holding back either. It is rivalry week.
All right, you guys are gonna get some good content out of these two on Thursday, and I'll just be the mediator. I'll just sit in the middle and laugh. But Parker, I believe that's gonna do it from us for this week's NFL episode. Right? Got anything else?
Yeah.
All right. Well,
let's see.
Hang
on. Let me think. I got something. The Miami Heat. the Miami Heat, we're looking good. But if you want to know how to blow a ball game, just look up Miami Heat versus the Chicago Bulls. We were up 22-1. And I'm not joking. We were up 22-1. And that's in basketball, too. So it's not in football. It's in basketball. Only 2s and 3s. We go on to blow that game. We lost. So just if you do want to know how to blow a basketball game, there's your one. Other than that, that's about all I got.
All right. Well, thank you all for listening. As always, this has been another episode of the Take This Whistle podcast, and I've been Josh. That has been Parker, and we appreciate you guys. We will see you guys on Thursday or Friday.
Peace.